Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Sammy Leggett here representing Team JVS. I'm back again for another movie review. The name of this movie is called Miss Juneteenth. This was directed by Channing Godfrey Peoples, who's also a writer on Queen Sugar, as well as who wrote and directed this film. This is starring Nicole, Beharie, Kendrick, Sampson, as well as Alexis, Chikaeze, and Lori Hayes. Now, this film, the synopsis reads this: a former beauty queen and a single mom prepares her rebellious teenager daughter for the Miss Juneteenth pageant. The thing about this film is that, again, this is another film that I didn't watch the trailers for. I didn't have any preconceived notions. I just heard everybody talking much about it. And I know what Juneteenth is, the significance behind Juneteenth. But I didn't know, what was this really meaning? What was the real, true projection of this film before I started to watch it? And the first thing you see is Nicole's character, Turquoise, like with her beret, like from her winning, Miss Juneteenth back in the day. And she just kind of was like, it was weird because I was watching her mannerisms, that she was like, making herself look good and like putting like makeup on and all that to go to a bar, to go bartending and waitressing and doing certain things in this restaurant that really wasn't kind of like doing anything. But yet she also had a daughter, and I was kind of like, what is really going on here? And then you come to realize who she really is, what she really was, who her significant other was, and the pieces start to come together. That's one thing I can say about this film, is that it was a progression. You're left with one puzzle piece, which is her, and then you start to put the puzzle pieces together and you realize, oh my gosh, what is really happening? Because one of the things that Turquoise is obsessed with is the past, what could have been, and making sure by any means necessary, by whatever means necessary, to make sure that her daughter doesn't go through the same trials and tribulations that she went through. She's going to do it. From a money standpoint, from her time standpoint, from her soul, she will not allow that to happen to her daughter. But it's like, at what point you do so much, is this really about your daughter, or is this really about what you lost? And I think that is the most interesting and captivating thing from a written standpoint about this story. Because it was never a situation where, Nicole as an actress kind of just like went off and she just got angry at everybody and just kind of like became bitter and mean and tried to kill anybody. Like, that wasn't this story. This story was very realistic. Like, she very much so, to me as a character, she was just doing this. She was trying to do this as much as possible while trying to smile, while trying to do everything. And I think that's one of the most commendable things about her as a defining character in this, is that, yes, was the character Turquoise making things harder for the people around her. Yes, she was going and using people, using certain circumstances, using her daughter. But was she ever like a person that was malicious or violent or, unnecessarily compromised? No. Like, she very much so stuck to the goodness that she actually really had. And I think that's one of the things that's so beautiful about this story, even though as a whole, as a film, it's not something that has a lot of rewatchability, or it's like something you like, oh, I want to go and put this on every other day. But it's very inspirational. It is very commendable and very realistic. It's not like one of those like redemption based stories, like, oh, we're gonna have this and then you're gonna get this life lesson and then you're gonna get this revelation of everything work. No, that's not what this is really ultimately about. It's about the soul of a human being and trying to make sure that they don't project or deplete from everyone else around them. It's a place of survival, and that's one of the things I have to commend Nicole Beharie. She is amazing in this. Like, I know this is a very unconventional review, because I mean, as far as me, talking about cinematography or the score or like color grading, like that's not the strong suit of this film. the strong suit of this film is the characters and the writing and the way that it's actually acted by Nicole. The other thing I found funny is that, well, not funny, but interesting, is like Kendrick Sampson's character, Ronnie, who was, you know, the baby daddy of the situation. Most of the time in most films and in shows and stuff like that, the baby daddy is like no good. Like they're, you know, they're not the kind of person that's like, you know, it's easy to look at them as the person that is the blame of all of this. But when you start to unravel him as a character, you're realizing like, dang, he's not to blame. Like he definitely has made some bad choices and still makes terrible choices, but he's not the evil, malicious fiend. And that's one of the things that a lot of films that have people of color, you know, the projection is like somebody or some, you know, man, you know, put them on this path to this destruction and situation. This movie doesn't pivot him as that. He's not, I mean, from a circumstance standpoint, he's affecting, yes, but he's not the end-all be-all antagonist. And I love that. Because most of the time, that's how normally this is, and it's so cliche. And that this movie identifies with reality, like the reality of things and how things can go. And personally, for me, coming from a small town myself, and coming from, you know, knowing, you know, whatever it takes to try to not just survive, but try to thrive, to try to make it, to try to go in and allow the things that you were taught and things and life lessons that you've been given, and prayerfully allow God to be able to maneuver you out of a situation so that you can go and put your family and everybody around you to the betterment of where they are. And that's one of the identifications of this character, Turquoise, even though you don't realize it. From the very opening, you're kind of like, oh, well, she's just kind of there. She's in this bar, like she had this past, and, you know, she did these other uncompromising things. And you find other things that she did do. You find out some other interesting things about her mom, and, you know, that's one of the things that's the beauty about this puzzle, that when the pieces start to come together, it is a very destructive canvas by the time you actually see it. But you see that the interesting thing is that she steals a light in the midst of this destructive canvas that's in front of her. And that's one of the things that's the most commendable thing about this film that makes it very good, in my personal opinion. Again, I think that from a cinematography standpoint, they could have upped that. I think they could have done some really interesting things with character progression when it comes to the daughter. I think that the strongest moments with, you know, the daughter's character, Kai, or Alexis's character, is definitely in the third act. The first two acts, it kind of was like, you know, but I think that something that happens with a generational situation that happens that really hit home, that, you know, that character started to really break out in a really interesting way. And I guess the payoff did work, but I think that there's things that they could have done. They do a lot of subtle things. They show you a lot of subtle things about people's passions and their actual desires and their actual motivations and their actual reasons for interaction and their reasons for working to do this and what they're actually working for. And Turquoise as a character, it was kind of like a misguided sense of, you know, trying to correct something, and to the detriment of everybody else around her. And I think that's one of the things that makes her so much more of an interesting character, and very much so much more human, because that's human relation. That's what we do, unfortunately. But I rest this at an 8. An 8 out of 10. I think it's definitely worth checking out. And for the performance, I think she did an amazing job. And yeah, that's all I got. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I'll talk to you guys later. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Definitely go and check out This Juneteenth. It's available now. Peace, guys.